The diner was silent the moment the Navy SEAL walked in. His uniform was dusty, torn at the edges, and his eyes looked as if they had carried entire wars inside them. He sat alone at a corner booth, shoulders heavy, staring at nothing, the weight of a father's fear crushing him more than any battlefield ever had. The town had heard the rumors. His son, a young boy barely 8 years old, had gone missing somewhere in the surrounding desert 2 days ago. Search teams had returned empty-handed. The blazing heat, the nighttime cold, the vastness, none of it gave any hope. And yet the men sat there, refusing to leave, refusing to surrender, fighting a war now not with guns, but with desperation. No one dared approach him, until a little girl with a black German shepherd stepped forward, her voice trembling but steady with a strange kind of certainty. And when she told him that her dog could find his son, even he, hardened soldier, trained warrior, felt something shift inside him, something he thought had died 2 days ago, hope. Pushpin if you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly keeps these stories alive. The men looked at the girl and her dog, large, focused, intelligent, the kind of dog whose presence filled the room with silent authority. The girl explained that the dog had once found her lost brother during a blizzard, tracking him for miles when every adult had given up. The Navy SEAL wanted to believe her, but belief can be dangerous for a man already drowning. Still, when the dog stepped closer, placing its paw gently on his knee, something inside him broke. It was small, wordless, but powerful enough to make him rise and follow her out the door. The townspeople watched from the windows as the girl, the soldier, and the dog began walking toward the desert line. No vehicles, no teams, just 3 figures stepping into the unknown like characters in a miracle story no one dared predict. The heat shimmered above the sand, making the world look like a painting melting under a cruel sun. The soldier had walked these terrains countless times in training, but never had the desert felt so merciless, so personal. Every step reminded him of his son's laughter, the way the boy ran ahead of him during their camping trips, pretending to be a mini SEAL. The father had promised him the desert was safe, as long as they respected it. But one moment of distraction, one loud noise, one curiosity-filled sprint from the child, and everything had changed. He had replayed that moment thousands of times. Now the desert was no longer a battlefield, it was an enemy holding his son hostage, silent and indifferent. But the dog, trained or not, moved with purpose, nose to the ground, occasionally lifting its head to the wind as if listening to something the humans could not hear. The little girl walked beside it, whispering encouragements, trusting him completely. The soldier followed behind them, torn between hope and terror, every minute a war against the images of what could have happened to his child. 3 hours passed. Then 4. The dog didn't slow, didn't hesitate, as if being pulled by an invisible thread. Eventually, they reached the edge of a rocky canyon, the kind that hid shadows, caves, and dangers no parent wished to imagine. The soldier's heart hammered, his training awakening, scanning the area for threats. But the dog descended into the canyon without fear, barking once, a sharp, commanding signal. The sound echoed off the canyon walls, bouncing into the corners of the earth. The soldier's legs moved before his mind could catch up. He sprinted, stumbling over rocks, sliding down slopes, breath burning his lungs. And then, halfway down the canyon, he froze. A small figure was curled beneath a ledge, dusty, exhausted, but moving. His son. Alive. The boy lifted his head weakly at the sound of footsteps, and when he saw his father, a trembling smile formed, fragile but real. The Navy SEAL, a man trained never to break, collapsed to his knees, gathering his child into his arms with the kind of cry that could shatter mountains. The girl stood back quietly, watching with wide eyes, her dog sitting tall beside her like a guardian of miracles. The father checked his son's condition, dehydration, a twisted ankle, exhaustion, but he was alive. Against all odds, he had survived 2 nights in the desert, using what he remembered from the survival lessons his dad once taught him. But what saved him wasn't just knowledge. It was the dog that followed the faint trace of his scent across impossible distances, guided by instinct and something deeper. When they made their way back to town, carrying the child between them, the townspeople gathered, stunned. No one could believe what had happened. Some cried openly. Others reached out just to touch the boy, to be sure he was real. The soldier lifted the little girl into a tight, grateful embrace, overwhelmed by the fact that a child's courage and a loyal dog had done what elite teams and equipment could not. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky with bruised gold and violet, the soldier sat beside the girl and her dog outside the diner, his son resting safely under a blanket nearby. He stared at the dog with awe, realizing that not all heroes wore uniforms, some had fur, silent eyes, and hearts bigger than their bodies. And the girl, with her quiet bravery, had changed the course of a family's life forever. The soldier made a promise in that moment that he would honor this miracle, and the people who gave it to him, for the rest of his life. Pushpin, if this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps more people see inspiring stories like this. Speech balloon before the ending. Comment below, would you trust a child's faith and a dog's instinct in a life or death situation? And so the world kept turning, the desert kept breathing, and a father walked away from tragedy with his son in his arms, all because a little girl believed that her dog could do the impossible. Some stories are written in books, some in memories, but this one was written in the footprints of a loyal dog leading the way through a merciless desert, proving that miracles sometimes come with wagging tails and the unshakable faith of a child.